Name is Sam Leichman. I'm the blockchain practice area lead at Propeller Industries. Propeller has been around for about 16 years. We were founded to provide VC-backed startups of full stack of CFO down to staff accounting solutions, really so founding teams can focus on building, selling, and scaling their projects, not having a perfect instance of QuickBooks. And also, while it's great to have a CFO or VP of finance in the room at all times, there simply just isn't 40 hours a week of work to be had at those early stages. And so for the first 10 years or so, we highly focused on CPG and SaaS. I joined Propeller in the SaaS practice, and about 6 months into my tenure, Solana Labs literally fell into my lap as a client. I had a very limited scope of knowing what they did, but very quickly realized that in addition to the finance and accounting work we're doing for all of our other clients, there's going to be the second layer of crypto finance and crypto accounting that really was very ill-defined at the time. There were very few tools, and we kind of had to learn stuff as we went, and with a real focus of how do you take on-chain activity and bring it to the P&L, and how do you make sure that you're reporting that accurately on the balance sheet. And the field itself has evolved quite a bit. Our practice, we're now working with about 50 or so projects. Solana has grown out of us, but have really leaned in with optimism, a bunch of other projects you've heard of, a bunch that you haven't. But really, we step in anywhere from seed, and we're still doing work with, call it Series C and unicorns in limited capacities.
That's great. What are the most common regulatory challenges your blockchain clients face, and how do you help them navigate those issues?
So I think that one of the, I'd say most challenging or hardest elements to get your head around is when you're doing on-chain activity. When a transaction occurs, you are responsible for the tax implications in US dollars of the value of that transaction when it happens. And not only that, if it's revenue, there's income that can be associated with it. If you're spending ETH for gas for whatever reason, that can be a taxable event as well, to basically have capital gains liability depending on what your sitting cost basis is. So I'd say really understanding what the tax implications are of the transactions of the thing that our clients build. In terms of regulatory, I think it's an interesting question. It's a fast moving, and I'd say in the last couple of weeks, things are evolving very quickly. And I don't know that there's a single concern, but I would say that there is an awareness that needs to be had on, at a strategic level within organizations. And it's an awareness that needs to be. I've got a team of about 12 colleagues, accountants, and the finance practitioners that do, if not exclusively, almost exclusively crypto work. If you're not doing this, if you're not paying attention to what's unfolding, custody rules, broker definitions, it's really difficult to do this part-time. And so I wouldn't say that the challenge is necessarily purely regulatory. It is, having practitioners that are really doing this and just focused on working with Web3 projects.
What strategies do you recommend for managing financial risks associated with holding digital assets?
There's a reality that we see with many clients that is one of the first things we do when we go through onboarding is making sure that we've got a full visibility for our clients' wallets infrastructure, knowing everything that is involved with the business that's contributing, that's involved with R&D, that's involved with any kind of revenue implications. And I don't want to say invariably, but in a lot of cases, we just, we've got projects. Oh, we forgot about this engineering wallet over here. And, this is someone's personal wallet who's commingling, some personal activity. And I think it's really making sure that, especially from a Web3 perspective, that you have full visibility on your entire wallet infrastructure. And it's not, there's, you can describe it in a few different ways. One is, the win the lottery or get hit by a bus scenario. But, making sure that you have, full access. I think there are some very interesting developments happening in terms of rules regarding qualified custodians. So I don't want to get too into self-custody versus custodial services, but if you're running a business, the head of engineering or the head of marketing shouldn't be the sole points of access or points of failure to having access to wallets that are supporting their projects.
That makes sense. What emerging trends do you see in blockchain, the crypto industry, that will impact financial management practices?
The tools are getting better. When we started to do work 5 years ago in the space, it makes me shudder sometimes to think about the spreadsheets that we spun up and tracking cost basis. And it was all we had, and it passed the requisite tax, and it was good enough at the time because it's all we had. What we're seeing now with subledgers, which essentially track on-chain activity, and then ultimately give us the data we need to do the entries in QuickBooks or NetSuite. We're not there yet. The systems aren't perfect. I think there's a thought pattern that says, well, if it's on-chain, there should be a way to automate the whole thing and hit a button and you get your journal entries. And it ain't there, but it's getting a lot better. And, I think we're working with a range of terrific subledger partners at Propeller. We're very much platform agnostic. And we, quite frankly, couldn't do the work that we're doing. And clients that we're working with could not be producing GAAP financials without this technology. So I think there's the technology piece, but then there's also, I think, the human element. Look, accountants don't get into accounting because they want a profession that has rules that are evolving and systems that are not, 100%. So, I'd say that it has taken, several years for, us to build a team, folks to get comfortable with working in the space. So I think that, in addition to having the tools, there's really the people who are doing the work behind the scenes that are, I think, adding a ton of value. And, again, you're going to be hard pressed. And there are people out there who have 10 plus years of crypto accounting experience. Not a ton of them, but there are. But, you're going to be hard pressed to find a lot of folks that have been in this space for more than 5 years. And which is great. And it's, I think there's a terrific ethos of folks who are working in the space. It's very collaborative. And, I think, again, there's the rabbit hole mentality that people, have, this is what they want to do. They don't want to be doing this and other stuff. And so it's really is allowed for a level of specialization to emerge.
How does Propeller Industries engage with the broader blockchain community to stay ahead of industry developments?
Great question. And, I think one of the things that I'm very proud of something that we've done at Propeller, it was probably about 3 years ago, and not to get too much in the weeds, but on terms of gap reporting, and this has changed a little bit, but I won't get into the recent FASB developments. But for the most part, you're required on the balance sheet to be reporting your digital assets at the lower of cost or repaired value. And very early on, we realized that this really you'll get a gap compliant balance sheet, and it doesn't really tell the story of a business. And so we developed something in-house called the Statement of Digital Assets. And basically, it started with just saying, I want to be able to show our clients at the end of the month what is this entry on their balance sheet that is digital assets, a single item. What is that actually comprised of in terms of wallet asset pairs, quantity? And it started out with just saying, what is the lower of cost or paired value, book value, a few ways to define it. And then we started thinking, well, if we got that, what our clients really care about, or what the questions are, is, well, what is the fair market value? And so we included that. There's been some other elements that we've added, so you can do different kinds of roll-ups. And for a hot second, we thought we had like a real proprietary tool, and realized that also, most finance and accounting professionals in the space were either doing something similar or would be doing something similar. So we really took an approach to say, let's open source this as a best practice for the industry. And we partnered with leading VCs and Big Four. We have a V1 white paper that we released at Mainnet in the fall of last year. We're working on a V2 to incorporate FASB ASU 2023-08, which addresses fair value reporting of some digital assets. And this has been a highly collaborative exercise for us and the industry. And I think one thing we realized that we were doing this for our clients to be able to help tell our clients' financial story. What we found with this document and this approach was, not only did it help operators, but it was something that for when companies were getting ready for audit, for tax preparation, for regulatory preparedness, for venture readiness and venture reporting, there was just this host of other applications that this best practice that we kind of started could speak to. And we pulled all of those people outside of Propeller in to say, hey, let's collaborate on a white paper that says let's create a best practice for the industry. And so I think that's something I'm very proud of. Our V2 with full attribution, we expect to be coming out probably late June. That's going to be exciting. The other piece of it is, how do we, stay involved with the industry? I mean, I think I mentioned this earlier. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. That everybody in this field, most people in this field, was doing something else 5 years ago. And in a lot of cases, were doing things really well at what they were doing. And they took this chance to enter a new space where they didn't know the technology, didn't know if the technology was going to last. A year ago, there was probably, a non-trivial chance that we wouldn't be sitting here today with everything that happened with FTX and all the headaches that we were dealing with. But everybody said this is something big, important, and interesting. And I think that has created a real ethos in this industry. And I think what that has provided is this, a very collaborative environment amongst, for us, other folks that do what we do, the ability for me to get on the call with leaders in the space at Big Four, and venture firms. And look, I mean, I think we're all here for, this is our profession, but maybe this industry is going to get way cynical in 20 years, like every other SaaS and, sharp elbowed VC, funded, endeavor. But, I think for now it is highly communicative, incredibly supportive. And, the question was, what are we doing? And, I'm doing my best to, have as many conversations with as many people and, have, be on a level playing field and create, again, do what we can do. I mean, the people who are really making things happen have much more interesting talks at consensus than I do. I'm just very grateful to be able to have, be able to contribute a piece of, the pie for the industry as it develops.
What's your vision for the future of Propeller Industries blockchain practice, and how do you plan to continue supporting the growth of blockchain and crypto companies?
So Propeller, as I mentioned, had a pretty long history before crypto. And, in terms of our total client assortment, we've got about 350 or so clients, 50 which are crypto. I've had this as a prediction for longer than what will make sense with what I'm about to say. But, I think in 5 years, all of our CPG, all of our SaaS clients, we're not going to have a client that doesn't have exposure to blockchain technology, that doesn't have digital assets on the balance sheet. And I was talking with a partner at a major consulting firm. He was telling me that in 1998, they had a .com practice. And so, it's kind of laughable to think about, that's a separate thing. I mean, I think that the future of this technology is it's going to be embedded in everything, whether it's loyalty programs, supply chain, applications, payments. So, I think it's going to be very pervasive. For me personally, I think one of the more exciting things that is reemerging now are token generating events. And so being able to really lean into, elements beyond, I absolutely hate this word, back office, but really seeing more opportunity to lean in on strategic opportunities with our clients, especially as they get into, some of the hard challenges of, we're spinning up a token. We want to make sure that we're tax efficient, that we're compliant, and, really being, in the room with the attorneys and, the other, CPAs on the tax side. So I think there's a greater strategy opportunity that we're very excited to be involved with.
That's great. I'm going to ask a couple of more general questions for this part of the interview. Can you share your perspective on the most significant developments in the blockchain space over the past year?
You're feeling for the thing. Yeah. Oh, good.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Why are you doing?
And this is not the sexy answer that I wish I had for you, but I think the normalization of the tokenization of financial assets, and just what is going on in repo markets, what is going on, hearing, everybody loves to ask, oh my God, what's the use case of this technology? Stablecoins, tokenization of treasuries. There's so much going on, and again, it's not it doesn't necessarily fit the narrative of, I'd say maybe the degens or, but this is a thing. And, it's getting adopted in financial circles because it's creating frictionless transactions, efficiencies, and it is making sense for all the right reasons. I think there's going to be, the killer app, so to speak, we may have already seen, and it just might have not been too early. Some exciting things going on in storage and compute. I'm not a technologist, and I'm going to get way over my skis probably in a second. But, I think, the tokenization is happening now of financial assets. That's very exciting. I think that blockchain as a computing infrastructure, cloud, mobile, internet, that's going to be the rails that a lot of things are run on. And, some have, the concepts I'm sure have already been thought of, and, are things, was there too much money? Was the technology for supporting the concepts there yet? Probably yes. I mean, I'm old. I remember pets.com. I remember Web 1.0 blowing out, and a lot of things that were crazy, of Cosmo getting ice cream and stuff delivered to your home. And I think that, again, I'm not going to try to proselytize and tell you what we've seen that's going to be the killer app. But, I think it's been there, and, it's exciting to see that this is a space that serious people are taking seriously.
How do you see the role of traditional financial institutions evolving with the rise of decentralized finance and blockchain technologies? We do work with a bunch of DeFi and CeFi projects. I think that there's going to be some convergence. There's also, I don't think that the role of a trusted intermediary is necessarily going to be written off by TradFi. I think there are, certainly elements that will be there. I think this is going to be another tool in the toolbox. And how that develops, again, is, outside of, if I could tell you what that answer was, I should probably be building it today. But, I think, again, it's, there is no silver bullet. It's going to be some combination of the way things are done today and the way the technology really facilitates a lot of, the trustless nature of what the technology promises. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the adoption of blockchain technology, and how can the industry overcome them?
Well, the biggest challenges are, I think we are dealing with an industry, and I'm going to make a sweeping generalization here, that is very comfortable selling to itself. And, I obviously haven't walked the floor at Consensus yet, but at ETH Denver, which granted is a developers conference, it's kind of like a circular firing squad of L1s selling to L2s, selling to DeFi projects, selling to applications to sit on top of that, selling to liquidity providers who are going to move money around. And honestly, that's not what it is, but it's, what it does in a very general sense represent is kind of like a circular firing squad in a walled garden. And I think, we're not in a world where this stuff is very accessible for people who are not excited about the technology. And again, a very broad, general way to put it. I think what has to happen is this just has to be, in the background. this is not my line, but I was speaking with a banker who said that, in the turn of the last century, the 1900s, you had electric lights, you had electric vacuums, you had electric irons, you had electric fill in the blank. Now electricity is just built in. You don't think about it. You don't need to understand how it works. It just works. And I think that blockchain at its core, yes, there are consumer applications, but it is an infrastructure, and it has to be an infrastructure that is supporting stuff that people interact with. And it's not, I don't think that, we need to be worrying ourselves about, yes, I think there's a lot of incredible things that the technology represents, but I think at the end of the day, whether you're custodying your keys, whether somebody else is, whether you even know that the application that you're using on your phone is decentralized and has all the benefits that we know to be there, that's where it has to be for mass adoption. It has to be in the background. And again, does it matter that an application is running in the cloud or on your phone or on your computer? No. I think the idea of cloud computing, not having all your data on your computer was a scary thought 20 years ago. It's not a second thought now.
How do you envision the future of Web3, and what impact do you think it will have on the internet as we know it?
I think it is some combination of where we are today and some combination of the idealism that you'll hear from the full degen libertarian set. And it's going to be, it is a technology that's going to make a lot of sense for some things and may not have great applications for everything. And so I think it's going to be a tool in the toolbox. Again, if I could tell you exactly what that future looks like, I probably wouldn't be doing the books. I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere. But no, I think it's, again, it is the next evolution of computing and computing applications, and it will be a great fit for some things, and other areas where having a trusted intermediary may still make sense.
Yeah. What advice would you give to new entrepreneurs entering the blockchain and crypto space today?
So I'll answer this from obviously what we do at Propeller. We are, entrepreneurs want to build. Most of our clients are, at their core development teams. Usually it's 6 to 8 folks, all of whom are engineers, and in some cases very hardcore engineers. And maybe there's one person who's doing everything else. And in that sort of framework, it's hard to, get the application right, build a business. And I think where we come in and where I think there's value add, and what, quite frankly, to your question, what entrepreneurs need to be aware of is, especially when it comes to tax, with accounting, get people that are just doing crypto accounting and crypto tax. Anyone who's doing, anyone who has 50% other clients and 50% crypto, or even worse, doing a little bit of crypto, is never going to be able to service a project that is focused on the space. And so, look to people who are doing crypto accounting, crypto tax, either exclusively or almost exclusively. And I think that probably goes true for the support that folks are going to look to for from legal and other professional services. And again, it's builders should be building, selling, and scaling, not worrying about, the legal issues. Yes, they should be worrying about it, but not spending their time, too much of their time worrying about that, or spending too much of their time hyper-focused on tax and accounting stuff.
Thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. Very valuable insights. That concludes the interview. If there's anything that I didn't ask and you would have liked me to ask, or you want to just share, please feel free.
Well, we love working with new projects. You can find us at propellerblockchain.com. I will always be happy to hop on a call with founders and, not just pitch our services, but really, I will always spend a half hour with serious projects, just hearing and giving, my take on stuff. And, I feel very lucky that when I entered the industry, there were a lot of people that were incredibly supportive, that gave me their time. And I think, again, we are at a point where we've got this ethos. Look, I'm excited to be working in this industry and excited to be helping entrepreneurs, get to their vision.